And this thing with Xavi and Laporta is quite interesting because some would argue that Xavi's actually making these arguments out of spite, given the fact that obviously he still didn't actually appreciate how he got fired by Laporta, uh, and how he had to leave Barca in the way that he did. There is still some animosity between Laporta and Xavi. Um, and given the fact that Barca right now are going through Barcelona, as in the club itself, the institution, the club, is currently in a situation where they have to elect, go into elections again to determine who becomes the president of the club. Um, Obviously, Barca fans will know there are two candidates here. There's Laporta, Juan Laporta, in this case, and there's also Victor Font. Oh, yeah, Victor Font. Um, and it seems it seems right now that Xavi's remarks or comments seem to lean towards the fact that he's trying to promote Victor Font more in comparison to Laporta, as in like he's actually throwing as a legend of the club, or still has a sort of voice or influence. He's trying to give more of his support towards Victor Font in this case. Um, but then there is something to look into here in terms of the fact that why, if this is true, if if Laporta it did essentially lie about not being able to sign Messi back when he had the chance after the World Cup, it does leave it does leave certain questions to be answered. Now we all know that Barca still have financial issues. So if I had to play devil's advocate here in favor of Laporta, you can understand why he took the decision he took if he actually did lie in this case. But then again, you can't actually. It still isn't right in the sense that most of the fans would have expected Messi to come back if it was possible. Um, so if it turns out that Laporta actually chose not to sign Messi, even though he did have the chance to sign him and bring him back in 2020 after the World Cup in 2023, then to some faction of the fan base, it will leave a sour taste. You know, it will cause a bit of like discomfort because then it puts Laporta in the hot seat where he could lose his presidency if it turns out to be true. But then again, he could argue if some more reasonable fans also into his side of things and argue that obviously bringing back Messi will mean bringing Messi back on a huge wage bill, which could again go back to affect the finances of the club. And we all know that Messi is the type of guy who would not want to do anything which could jeopardize Barca as a club. I mean, he loves the club to that extent where if he sees that financially it's going to wreck them if he comes back and his contract causes more issues for the club in terms of finances. He wouldn't want that to be a situation. That's not how Messi actually works like that. Internally, he will not really be at peace knowing that he's causing such issues for the club financially. So in that regard, then it would make sense as to why Laporta did what he did at that time. I'm not saying that what he did is good. If this is true, and if Xavi is right on this one, because then it really puts him in a tough situation. Him being Laporta in this case. Um, then again, it also goes back to the fact that if he took that decision to save the club and to also focus more on the younger talents, because you have to remember now that in as much as Messi is still exceptionally talented, and in as much as he still has the skills and the playing abilities to easily fit into this current squad of Barca players and still win something for them. Messi is catching up on age. Like he's actually age age has actually caught up to him, essentially. And now I think the focus here for guys like Laporta is to try and build the future of the club, try and focus more on the future of the club. And the future currently is on the shoulders of the likes of players like Pedri, Gavi, um, player like Rafinha, and of course, Lamine Yamal. So if you look at it from his perspective and as to why he chose to do what he did, if it turns out that he did lie in this case, then I guess the main issue here has to do with the fact that he took that decision to protect the future of the club. Then again, it's still not something which I would say he should be proud of doing, because then we all know that Messi would have loved to have retired at Barca. So it's more or less like he sort of threw him under the bus to protect the future of the club. So hopefully, yeah, Barca and Laporta, if he manages to get back in and get re-elected, to find a way of resolving this issue with Messi and also with Xavi too as well, because it seems that ever since Xavi left, there seems to be a bit of a bit of bad blood between him and Laporta, which needs to be resolved.